Hello friends, welcome to episode 116 of the Shauna Stitches Podcast. I'm Shauna and this is my crafty channel where I talk about all the things that I've been working on lately. Today is August the 10th of 2025 and it is very warm and sunny here on the Oregon coast. I know this won't sound like much to most of you, but I think we're supposed to hit around 80 today, and here where we live with no air conditioning, that is quite warm. So I'm sure my craft room here with the window open and the door closed is going to get pretty warm, but luckily it's only 9:29 in the morning. I'm filming quite early today because today is my mom's birthday and I'm meeting her for lunch. So I'm trying to get this done before I have to leave for that. If you look down in the About section or description or whatever it says, there are many links to all the places that you can find me. That includes Ravelry and Instagram. Those are the places where I'm most active. There's also a link to my Goodreads and an Ask Me Anything form, which someone finally did use. So thank you, and I will address that question later. Yep, I think that's about everything to get us started. So I do have one finished object since the last time I saw you, and that finished object has already been gifted. So I will insert a picture and tell you a little bit about it. I made another emotional support chicken, which I'll be honest, I had no plans of making another, but I have a good friend here who lives in Oregon, and she told me that her and her daughter were in line at a fair or a market or something along those lines, and they were standing in line for an emotional support chicken. Apparently, either someone or a group or something had knit about 100 of these chickens, and by the time they got to the front of the line, there were no more chickens left to be had. And she kind of reached out and was asking if she ran into any issues, if I could help her through those in the pattern. And I just thought, you know, I already have yarn to make another chicken and it really didn't take that long. And, you know, I would love to make someone's day. So I offered to make her one, and I did. And I got it sent off on the mail on Friday and could not believe it arrived at their house on Saturday. And it was so sweet. She filmed her daughter opening the package. She didn't know what it was, and she was very excited. And I got lots of pictures with her, and yeah, it was absolutely wonderful. Definitely a knit-worthy little girl, and I'm very happy that she likes her chicken. So that was very well worth the time and effort that I spent on it, and I was able to use all stash yarn, which is even better, and I have a lot of those little eyes that I use for the chicken, so why not, right? I could definitely see making more in my future. I mentioned during the making of that chicken, Henny Penny, that the pattern was not super clear, but after knitting it the first time and making it through those sections, the second time was much easier, so apparently practice does help. Okay, let's talk about some works in progress. My first one I'm going to show you is my Marled Magic Blanket by Stephen West. And I'm going to try to remember which sections you haven't seen. So I left off last time on section 6. I don't remember, I was probably somewhere in here when you saw it last. But section 6 is quite large. It's all the way from this green here to the green down there. And it is all seed stitch, which I will show you. And it is beautiful, and it is large, real large, because let's see, well, it's not as large as my wingspan, but from my tip of my left hand, it goes all the way from the end of my arm over here to my shoulder, so that's a big section. That was section 6. We got a slight break for section 7, yarn everywhere. Section 7 was much smaller, and it is brioche, which technically is just a one color brioche, even though you see two colors there. I have a tan and a coral. These were from I'm not going to remember which Stephen West shawl that I did this, but it was the one where you had the loops, the I-cord loops, and you braided them together. Sorry, I have mohair on my nose, and I'll tell you why later, or you'll see why. Anyway, it's just everywhere. So this was section 7, which I just think it's so pretty. It's so squishy and nice and soft. And the yarns that I used for this, if I'm remembering correctly, they're Knit Picks palette yarns. And so they are non-superwash. They have a bit more structure. And I thought that might be good for the brioche because brioche tends to really stretch out a lot, and in superwash it might not have the structure it needed. So I think that turned out well. And now section 8, which I probably would have done today if it weren't for another project that I started. Anyway, here is section 8, and I love it. I told Lisa from 72 Stitches or Knit All the Yarn that I was channeling my inner Lisa with a nice big green section. For this, I am holding 2 yarns together. This one is a leftover that I had of a West Yorkshire Spinners yarn in the color Spruce. And this is a yarn that I had in my stash for a very long time. This is some of my oldest sock yarn. It is Ice Yarns Mini Sock. They're 50-gram skeins, and I don't know if mini refers to the fact that they're smaller skeins or the fact that the patterns are shorter. It does make kind of a self-striping, but anyway, so I'm holding those together to get this marled fabric, and I really, really like it. I love those pops of the minty color in there, and also the kind of limey green. So yeah, this section is quite large too. I do have more yarn than what I showed you, but the same colors. So this whole section will be just those 2 colors marled together, and that is section 8. So we are making progress. I am tracking on my Ravelry page the percentage done, and I'm doing the percent based on how many sections out of the total rather than how many grams, because I just don't quite know exactly how many it's going to end up being. So that just made more sense, even though some of the sections are small and some are much larger. I'm just doing it that way. So 7 out of the 28, I think, got me to 25%, if I remember correctly. So I'm just shocked. I guess I should show you. Let me take a sip of my coffee first, because like I said, it's early. If I don't make sense, it's because I haven't had enough coffee yet. So this is getting huge. I laid this out on my king size bed the other day, and it is almost as wide as the king size bed, and obviously not as tall, but yeah, it's getting real big. Obviously, it cannot fit all in the screen, but I will put that picture up so you can see what it looks like on my bed. I quit using my couch here. It folds into a queen size, and this blanket is laughing at that queen size. So it is huge. Yeah, I'm happy that it's huge, but it's huge. Okay, the next thing, actually I'm going to save that for last. I was going to talk to you about my Delectable Collectible socks by Stephen West, but since that's kind of a spoiler-ish thing, I will save that for the last project. Let's talk about the thing that I cast on that I knew recently I was going to cast it on, but the last time I talked to you, this was not even a project that I was considering. But I do have a wedding that I'm going to in October. My very best friend is getting married, and I went and picked out a dress for that the other day. And it's kind of a two-tone gold. It's hard to describe, but it is very gold. And I was just thinking, it's sleeveless. And I needed something to be warm, and I really don't have any fancy coats, and I don't want to have to buy a fancy coat. And I do have shawls, but I'm not sure that I really have a shawl that would go with gold. So I thought, first I looked on Amazon to get a little like knit shrug, and they had some that were okay, but then I thought I could make one. So I went looking for a pattern, and I stumbled on the Papis Shrug by Midori Hirose. I don't know if I say that right. I believe it's Japanese, but she's knit Midori Cafe or Knit Cafe Midori, one of those combinations. It's linked below. It holds 2 strands of mohair together, and it's very interesting. Let me just show you. I am so far on this. Ooh, I only just got my yarn on Thursday. Today is Sunday. And here's where we are. It's like almost done. So because it's in this state, it's going to be harder to tell you exactly. The construction on this is just crazy. But this is the back. And essentially you're just knitting flat a very wide, long, however you want to look at it, piece of fabric. And you're using short rows so that where you end up joining for the sleeves is going to be a narrower section than the body. I just kind of demonstrate here. I can't fully put this on because it's on the needles and everything, but that's how that's looking. I think this is probably about where it's going to land. I did actually add 28 stitches to the pattern because the pattern has 2 sizes it's written for. I guess kind of a shorter sleeve and then a 3/4 length sleeve. And a lot of people commented that they made the 3/4 and all it did was come to their elbow. And as I mentioned, I am quite tall. I'm 5'10", so my wingspan is nearly 6 feet. I have very broad shoulders, and so I figured I would need more stitches. And somebody's pattern page mentioned they did 28 extra, so that's what I did. And quite honestly, I could have done more, but that's okay. If you think about, see how big those stitches are. 28 stitches was, I don't know, something like that. That much fabric is how much extra I added, maybe even more. So I'm glad that I did that for sure. So anyway, you're knitting this piece flat, and then you seam together the arms on each side. And then you start knitting the center in the round, and now I'm doing ribbing. My yarn is this beautiful fluff, which I think this is going to go great with gold. My shoes that I have are kind of a similar color brown. I haven't actually held this up to the shoes, but I think my shoes will be mostly covered by the dress anyway. It's very long, and even if they don't, from up here to down there, if there's a slight shade difference, then whatever. But this is the color Toffee. I thought I had a bulb. Oh yeah, there it is. This is Drops Kid Silk Mohair, and it doesn't even say that it's the color Toffee, but there's the color number 51. And I got this from Lindy Hobby, which is out of Denmark. My first time ever ordering from there. And I think my next comment has nothing to do with Lindy Hobby. Actually, the first thing I will say is that the shipping was super fast. All the way from Denmark. I think it was here in less than a week, which is really crazy. But something I didn't know until after I bought this, which another friend confirmed this is common. Drops apparently likes to short you on how many grams they give you. So I ordered 4 of these. They are supposed to be 25 grams each. And as you know, I track my stash in Ravelry. And generally, if something says 25 grams on the ball band, I will consider it 25 until I start the project, and then I weigh it. And I would say 95% of the time, excuse me, any yarn that I weigh ends up being more than what the ball band said. So I do adjust for that in Ravelry once I start the project. Well, with this, it was the opposite way. Of the 4 balls should have been 100 grams. I had 93.1 grams. So I was shorted 7 grams. And that is quite substantial when you're talking about mohair yardage. So I worked on this almost all day yesterday. And I had gotten to a point where I finished my first ball because you hold it double. So the first one ran out. I was still working partly on the second one. And I really thought to myself that I need more yarn. So I did go ahead and order 2 more. I have 2 more coming, but I might actually be able to finish this before then. I didn't mention, so I am working on the ribbing. That is probably 1.5 to 2 inches. I haven't measured it. Pattern calls for you to do 4 inches of ribbing all the way around, and so that section will sit up on the neck and down my back, and of course around the sides as well. So I'm going to keep trying it on as I go. I may need more than 4 inches just because, like I mentioned, I am not a small person, but we'll see. I think I would have enough yarn without the extras that I ordered, but I'm not mad that they're coming because that's a great color. Actually, what occurred to me was I saw a pair of socks, and I wish I could remember who had knit these because I'm completely forgetting. I feel like it was someone I did a swap with, like a Christmas swap with last year. I can probably figure it out. But they had knit a pair of socks with Lion Brand fisherman's wool and 1 strand of mohair. So already thick worsted weight or maybe Aran weight socks with mohair. And I want to make those. So I'm thinking I have some fisherman's wool in the brown color, which that would be really a nice combination if I have extra. If not, it will go in the shrug. But anyway, the other thing I wanted to say about this, Midori Hirose is the same designer who designed the Ranunculus. Ranunculus has over 30,000 projects on Ravelry. Guess how many projects this has on Ravelry? You're never gonna guess. Under 200. I think I'm the 167th project, which is just crazy. The construction is interesting. I mean, there were parts of it where I was a bit confused. The cast on is a bit much, but once I got going, super easy, and I think it's going to be really elegant and beautiful. And now that I did the portion of joining the sleeves together, it's just really genius. Like there is no, not really any picking up of stitches. It's no seaming. Well, you do seam, but there's not like, you don't have to cut your yarn. One thing I did do, I keep picking this thing back up because I keep thinking of more things to tell you. So at the, I guess if you want to call it the underarm, I did pick up some stitches in the corner, very similar to how you would with socks, because there were some very large holes there. I guess maybe you're meant to sew it up. I don't know. Being a Japanese style pattern, this pattern is very concise and short. It does not have any fluff. It kind of expects you to fill in some of those blanks and figure it out, but it does have some pretty good videos that go along with it. So I recommend that pattern, and it was very inexpensive, less than $3 US if I remember correctly. And based on how it looks right now and how it's all coming out, I can highly recommend it. I think it's going to be really awesome, and it's going to look really good with my dress. Once I finally wear that, I will get a picture and show you guys eventually. Okay, so I guess technically we have 2 more whips to show. This next one is a blast from the past. You haven't seen this probably since December or January. It's in my, this is not made by Charming You. Who is this made by? It says Button and Boo, but it came with my 2024 Charming You Advent, but that's not what's in here. I just like the bag. This is my Anthology Throw. Yes, you haven't seen this in so long. Look at that. I actually had been forgetting to show this. I've been making very slow progress on it. If you will remember, back when I started knitting this in December, the end of December, is when my finger really started having all its issues, which I now know is osteoarthritis. But at the time, I had no idea. My finger was very swollen, And this is the project I was working on at the time. So I don't know if that just gives me a mental block or I'm afraid my finger's going to start hurting again, which by the way, lately it's been quite bad and I don't know why. I would like to say, oh, maybe it's from knitting or maybe it's from spinning, but I don't think so. I think it just feels like being angry. I don't know. So anyway, I sit in this room, really in this exact same spot when I am doing my online counseling. And when I'm just on a knit row, this is a fantastic project to get some stitches in on. And my counselor doesn't care that I knit. In fact, she's always wanting to know what I'm working on. So this is very mindless, except for when I get to those eyelet rows. So I did have to sit and do some eyelets and where I could count and pay attention when I wasn't in counseling, because obviously that is not why I'm there, to be counting a project. So I do love it. I am only on color 6 out of 24. So I have a long way to go. And if it's not done by Advent this year, maybe I will work on that more focused in December. I have to say though, I am just a little hesitant because of the finger thing. When it starts hurting, boy does it hurt. Okay, the last project that I have worked on that I need to talk to you about is in this really beautiful sock bag. And I even have a little pin on there. Does it wrist to dye works? That's not what's in here though. This is my Stephen West Surprise Sock Along 2025 called Delectable Collectible. And this could be a spoiler for you. The second clue came out on Tuesday of this week. So it's been out for, what's that, like 5-ish days, something like that. And it was a quick clue. So you probably have already seen this. I have noticed that Stephen really isn't spoilering them very well this year. And I don't know if it's because maybe he considers the surprise sock along is not a mystery like the MCAL, but I'm still doing everything I can to avoid seeing spoilers until I'm actually done with the clue. So that means I stay off of Instagram and all that stuff until I really want to know. But this could be a surprise for you. So if you don't want to see, go ahead and look away real quick. And if you just want to close your eyes, I'm not going to say anything when I pull up the sock, but I will let you know when you can come back. Okay, I'm going to show it. This is where we are so far. I know I said I wasn't going to say anything, but I will say I love my yarns. But beyond that, I'm not going to give anything away about the pattern. Here's kind of a close-up. And if you were closing your eyes, you can go ahead and look now, because I'm not going to show the pattern at all. But I am going to show you my yarns. This is a close-up of what the yarns look like. I am using a Knit Picks Stroll Tweed set. They have little sock sets that are 20-gram minis, and this one is called Afternoon Tea. Each of these yarns do have a name. They are on my Ravelry project page. Yeah, I don't remember what any of them are at the moment. This one's Lavender, I think. Lavender Heather and a whole bunch of others. The pink is Dogwood Heather. But I am enjoying this so much. I was very happy and shocked that Clue 2 was so short. I literally finished it in one day. I have been vlogging my clues as I go, so each clue is a separate vlog, similar to how I've done the MCAL clues and even the surprise sock along last year. The clue comes out, I start recording my reactions and each section I go through, any issues that might arise, and my progress. So if you are interested in hearing more about my process through the surprise sock along, you can go check out those vlogs. And of course, if you have any questions or comments, I would love to hear them. I am enjoying that. And I know I've mentioned that my sock mojo is just non-existent lately. I am actually enjoying knitting this pair. I even considered casting on a second pair for my husband, just using 2 colors because I think that would look really cool. But I'm still not feeling the super sock mojo. I am absolutely loving my Marled Magic blanket, and that Papis Shrug is also a very fast and fun knit, I guess. It is not the most fun to knit 2 strands of mohair together, I'll be honest, because it is very easy to miss a strand, so I really have to pay attention. But beyond that, I am really enjoying it, and more so, I think I'm going to really enjoy the finished project. I think that is all of the knitting projects I have to show you, but I do have something else. Actually, we're going to jump into spinning. So let me show you first the spinning project that I have been working on. And I forgot, oops, it's coming undone. I forgot to bring in, I have a bobbin full, well, not full, a bobbin of the singles from the first ply that I spun on my drop spindle. This is the second ply for the traditional 3-ply, and I forgot to bring my finished yarn in too. I have a skein that I just spun, well, I just plied for Tour de Fleece. It's the colorful skein. This is greenwood fiber in the color Arcade. And so I have one that I did as a chain ply. This one's going to be a traditional 3-ply. And I am doing a combo draft that was recommended by Andrea Mowry. So you can see where it looks like I've got 2 colors kind of throughout my fiber. And that's because when I separated the second half of my fiber into 3 strips, I took each of those 3 strips and I separated them again, and then I flipped one. So one starts at the beginning and one is starting at the end, and I just pre-draft those, and then that's what I'm spinning. And so what that does is kind of create more of a heathered effect for the 3-ply. And eventually that should get spun up into some stripy, Andrea Mowry's intention was for you to knit the DRK Everyday Socks or the Bear Paw Socks, which my yarn is coming out somewhere between a Sport and a DK, so I don't know, I'll have to modify anyway, but I probably will do a toe up, my brain just left me for a second. I will do a toe up ribbed sock similar to the DRK Everyday Socks, but I think I might do the regular sole and do a heel flap because her pattern is written with the Flegel heel, which I don't dislike, but I kind of do like the slip stitch heel flap better. So eventually that's the plan for that. The yarn, or the fiber that I have is Polworth, and no nylon, no nothing like that. So I probably will use something else for the toe and the heel just because those are high friction areas. The other spinning thing I have to talk to you about is actually going to be a little video that I filmed earlier today, and it's because I had a question on both the comments for my last episode, I believe it was the last episode, or it could have been a Tour de Fleece video, but they also sent a question into my Ask Me Anything question Google form, which is great because it's the first person who actually used that form, so I appreciate that, and now I know it works, so thank you so much for doing that. Based on the form that they filled out, I think they want to be anonymous, so I'm not going to say their name, but if you're watching, you know who you are, and if it wasn't your question, then maybe you were thinking this to yourself anyway, so I hope that this will answer some questions. The question was about cross-lacing, and they wanted to know if I could explain that a little bit better. So I will go ahead and insert that clip here, and I hope that it's helpful. I had a question on my Ask Me Anything form about my singles and how I wrap them around the flyer arm. So I have my wheel here. I am just holding on to the camera. I don't have a stand where I can really film from overhead, so I'm sorry if it's a bit shaky. But I wanted to explain further. So this is called cross-lacing, and all I do is, this is a little tricky one-handed. So if I am just spinning normally, that's how my single would look. I've got it hooked through the 2 hooks there on, we'll call it my right arm of my flyer, and the left arm I have the hooks completely spread out. Now this will work on a wheel that has multiple hooks on the other side. You just have to put your single between those hooks, and then each time you move it between. But when you don't have multiple hooks, or your hooks are at each end, all you're going to do is you're going to take that single. Oops, I think I'm going to have to hold on to this. Hold on one second. So you're pulling up the single, and I'm going to loop it around the end of the flyer. So that's what it looks like. And as I let go, you can see that my single just wraps around the flyer, and what it helps me do is it slightly reduces the brake band tension. So you might have to turn up your brake a bit, but it allows the singles to really evenly distribute, because I've noticed as they fill up the bobbin, this is going to slightly move. Now, if you don't have hooks, you never have to move this. All I'm ever going to move is this hook here. And I think it works really great. It's very simple, and a lot of people do it. I think you can do it on any wheel. I haven't discovered any that I can't do it on. The only instance would be is if you didn't have an extra flyer arm, and I don't know of any wheels that don't have 2 flyer arms, but I don't know every wheel out there. So I hope that helps. If you still have any questions, please let me know, and I will try and explain it in another way. Okay, so hopefully that does explain cross-lacing a little bit better. I think it's one of those things that, or at least I'm this way, if I don't actually physically do something, it can be very confusing. And then when you actually do it, it's so simple. So I hope that you're finding it to be as simple as I think it is. But again, if you have any questions, just please let me know. And I hope that you try it, because I think it's a really great, easy technique. That is all of the crafty stuff I have to tell you about. But let's see, let's talk about some books that I have read and books that I am reading. This is going to be a short segment because due to some of the projects I've been working on lately, and then all the spinning with Tour de Fleece, I have less reading than I have had recently. But I did finish one book. I finished Nightbane, which is the Lightlark #2. So Lightlark is a series. Lightlark is the name of the first book by Alex Aster, and there are currently 3 books out, with a 4th one coming in, I think, December. So this is a fantasy type series, not my normal genre, but I have to say I love this. Do I love it as much as, oh, I'm totally blanking. What's the other book series that I love? I don't know. It's totally out of my mind. You're screaming it at me, I know, because I'm also waiting for a book to come out on that. But that's besides the point, because I cannot remember it. But I really do love this one. So I finished Nightbane, and I forgot to tell you how many stars I give that. Off the top of my head, without looking at my Goodreads, I think I gave it 4 stars. I don't think I liked Nightbane as much as I liked Lightlark, but I still really liked it. And now I'm currently reading Skyshade, which is the 3rd book. And I have to say, Skyshade is so far better than Nightbane, but I still love the whole series so far. I love the world. It's pretty cool. So I'm about 80% of the way into Skyshade, and I cannot wait to see what happens. It's getting crazy at this point, and yes, I definitely am going to keep reading till the end. The other book that I have not read in the last 2 weeks since I talked to you, but it's still on my stack of currently in the middle of, is The Crash by Frieda McFadden. I feel like by the time I finally make it back to that, I might forget what's happened, but I should be able to pick it up again pretty easily. And that's it. That's all the reading that I've done. So let's talk about life stuff. I mentioned to you that today is my mom's birthday, so I'm going to take her out for lunch. I don't know where we're going to go yet. The town that my mom lives in is currently a madhouse because they have the world's largest, I think it's the world's, maybe it's only the United States. Anyway, they have a humongous volleyball tournament. I think today's the last day. It should be wrapping up, but traffic is going to be nuts. So I'm going to go pick her up, take her closer to my house, and we're going to have some lunch. And I got her a little present, so hopefully she likes that. Some of the other things that have been going on, if you did not watch my surprise sock along vlog for the first clue, I'm pretty sure it was the first clue, you wouldn't know this maybe, but we had a tsunami warning. Was it? I forget the different levels. I don't think it was actually called warning because I think that's actually the lowest. Advisory, maybe that's what it was. But that came, it started at like 5:30 p.m. because they had a very large earthquake. Was it 8.8, 8.7? Very large, over somewhere in or near Russia. And because the way that the earth moves and the waters are all connected, it can create very large tidal waves. And so we were on alert for that. And I wasn't sure if I was going to get called into work. I wasn't sure if I needed to evacuate my mom because she doesn't drive. So yeah, there were all kinds of considerations. And then my husband was at work, which he should have been safe where he was. But I was like, what do I do with my dogs if I get called into work? And so I stayed up way too late that night trying to see if I was going to get called in because I did get a text message that that could happen. And I was just very tired the next day, but thank goodness, thank everything that we did not have any damage here whatsoever. No loss of life, although there definitely was over in the Russia area, which is horrible. But I was very, very thankful that very minimal here. I did look it up. I knew that in the town I grew up in, which is Seaside, Oregon, back in 1964, there was a tsunami. I don't know what, I'm sure that the cause of the tsunami was an earthquake, but I don't know where that earthquake originated. But there was such a large tsunami here that it knocked out multiple bridges in that town, and I'm sure destroyed a lot of other things, but I only know about the bridges because they never rebuilt some of them. So there used to be a lot more ways to cross the river in town, and now there's less. And so it's a very real thing that could happen. And the last one being in 1964, at least the last big one, makes you think that the potential could be increasing each year because you just don't know. It's not like every so many years it happens, but each of these threats that we've had kind of heightens the risk, I would say. And let's see, we went to my husband's cousin's wedding in Portland. We went to a Peruvian restaurant where they have like banquet rooms or like meeting room kind of things. And it was called Andina. I had never been there. I'd never had Peruvian food, and I was very interested to see what it was all about. So we got all dressed up, drove to Portland. I was so relieved that the high temperature for the day was 76 because Portland gets much warmer than it does here where I live on the coast. And all I could think was that it was going to be like melting hot, and I was wearing a dress. And actually what ended up happening, I wore, I think it's my, is it twist and turn? No, slipstravaganza, I think it was. Ended up wearing that with, I got this fancy kind of one-piece suit, like a romper jumper, I guess. But it had such wide legs that it looks like a dress, and there were slits up both leg. And anyway, it was really fun. But actually, I wore the shawl because it was a little chilly, so that was a very nice surprise. The wedding was nice. The Peruvian food, I can't say it's all Peruvian food is this way, but the stuff that we had was very similar to Mexican type food. We had some sliced steak, some chicken, Sides were like roast potatoes and cilantro lime rice. So I don't know, just normal food, I guess. And when I heard Peruvian, I thought it would be kind of outside of anything I'd ever tried, but it was very similar to other stuff I've had. So that was nice. And of course, we had wedding cake, and it was good, except for the fact that the ceremony didn't start till 5 p.m. And where it was about a 2-hour drive from where I live. So we got home very late. I did take Monday off work because there was no way I was coming in after very little sleep. In fact, I remember at 2:30 a.m. still being awake, and normally my alarm goes off at 4 a.m. So yeah, there's no way. The other thing, life stuff, is that, as you know, a couple of episodes ago, I mentioned that I was starting at the gym, and I was nervous and wasn't sure how it was going to go, and it's been about a month now. I think Monday is a month, and I have to say how do I say this? I'm enjoying it. Like, it's kicking my butt. At the moment I'm doing it, I won't say I'm enjoying it so much, but I can say it's feeling really good to get back into it. I have really enjoyed working out in a team atmosphere isn't exactly the right word, but in a class setting with multiple people. I definitely, so this last Friday, I had to work out completely alone. I didn't have a coach. I didn't have any teammates. I didn't have anybody else there. I had the whole building to myself. And we all have that little voice in the back of our head that's like, this is hard. We should stop. Let's just not do this. And I know for a fact when I have somebody else there right next to me doing the exact same thing, I am much less likely to give into those little voices because I'm just not going to quit. I'm much more likely to quit when it's just me. So that's challenging. It does seem like there are some growing pains at this gym because I can't remember if I told you or not. It is new. So the owner's trying to figure some things out. We were having this 5 a.m. session Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I had a coach. I had, teammates. And now I think it's not going to be coach led. So I'm going to be kind of on my own. The good thing about that is that they are still going to give us what the workout is going to be, because that is like my biggest struggle. If I walk into a gym, even though I have worked out many years in the past, even now I have a month in where I've done a lot of moves. I can't just walk in and be like, oh, this is my plan. This is what I'm going to do. I struggle with that a lot. So having somebody tell me, this is your plan, this is what you're going to do, so much easier for me, especially at 5 in the morning when my brain isn't fully working. So, part of me is like losing the coach, losing the people I was working out with. That would be a very easy time to give up, to say, this is too hard. I don't want to do this. But I am fighting that a whole bunch. This is the first time in my life that I can say I'm working out with the intention of not just looking a certain way. I mean, if that happens, if I lose some fat, if I gain some visible muscle, if I, lose some inches, that would be fantastic. But I finally have a mindset where that is not my ultimate goal. And I think it's a really healthy mindset to be in. My mindset is just to obviously get stronger, to be better able to move. And not that I'm struggling with that at all, but I'm just looking forward to the future. I'm looking forward to, retirement age, getting older. And, I don't want to be the person who falls on the floor and can't get back up or stuff like that. I just want to be very capable into my old age. And I know seizing this right now is going to be way better than getting to that point where I can't get off the floor or I can't even get up out of a chair or something like that. It's going to be much harder to gain my physical abilities at that point than now. So I'm hoping to stay on top of it. I think that's a great motivator, is to be independent for the rest of my life. And I know I'm very young to be talking about that, but I will tell you, it is never too early to start. And it's just important. And unfortunately, I didn't grow up with that mindset. I didn't grow up with a family who was super active or that worked out, and I didn't grow up doing sports. So it has always been a bit of a struggle for me, but I am trying, and that's all we can do. So I think that's all of my life stuff. I'm going to edit this and work on my shrug, and that should be a finished object the next time I see you. So until then, I will talk to you soon. Bye.